Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. As we come together to say our farewells to this true gentleman, Gwyn Philip Evans, known by his family and his friends as Philip. My name is Caroline, and it is an honour for me to be here today as we remember so many happy times and moments of love and friendship you all had with him. The family would like to welcome everyone who was not able to be here in person today. Your presence is felt and appreciated as if you were here in the room with us. Today, as we see him off on another journey, we will help each other to thank him for being a huge part of your family and a good friend to so many. Having to say goodbye to someone who was such an important part of all of your lives is so very hard, and it is the saddest of days for you all. But today is also the chance to remember the joy, the love and the friendship that Philip gave you all. A chance to celebrate the memories that you share, and a chance to say thank you for the precious days, months and years that you had him in your lives. Today we will do our best to celebrate his life and his character and the many memories he leaves behind. In those memories, he will always live on in your hearts. Following our service today, the family have asked if you would join them for refreshments at the White Horse, where they would welcome you all to join them in remembering and celebrating Philip's life. Philip chose this lovely reading for Zina, so let us now listen to it once more. Look for me in rainbows. Time for me to go now. I won't say goodbye. Look for me in rainbows way up in the sky. In the morning sunrise, when all the world is new, just look for me and love me as I know I loved you. Time for me to leave you. I won't say goodbye. Look for me in rainbows high up in the sky. In the evening sunset, when the day is through, just look for me and love me, and I'll be close to you. It won't be forever. The day will come, and then my loving arms will hold you when we meet again. Time for us to part now. We won't say goodbye. Look for me in rainbows shining in the sky. Every waking moment and all your whole life through, just look for me and love me as I know I loved you. Just wish me to be near you, and I'll be there with you. Gwyn Philip Evans was born on the 17th of September 1950 in Pont Lawton in the valleys of South Wales to Gwyn and Evelyn Evans. He had two brothers, Gary and Christopher, and a sister, Vida. As a young boy, Vida says that her brother was always a leader, and he always had lots of friends. There were often days when there would be 6 feet of snow, and when she got stuck, her brother was always there to rescue her. A perfect gentleman as a young boy, something that never changed throughout his life. He would also use his cine camera and film the family. He loved making films, and he would set up chairs in the dining room, take 6pence from the kids, and his mum would provide the popcorn. Such wonderful, happy memories. Philip joined the RAF at the age of 20 after serving an electrical apprenticeship at South Wales Switchgear straight after leaving school. Philip's dad took him along to the RAF Careers Office in Cardiff. After passing all the entrance exams and with his electrical engineering apprenticeship, Phil joined the RAF as a technician, and after passing out, he was stationed at RAF Marham before being stationed in Gütersloh and Wildenrath in Germany, where he stayed for most of his 22-year career, attaining the rank of warrant officer and having gained a BSc Honours in electrical engineering. Philip loved music and technology, and so it was a natural path for him when he joined Kingsbrook Middle School as a technology teacher. It was here that he was to meet his soulmate and his future wife. Philip was walking across the hall and Zena began shouting. He was so scared until he realised that she was actually teaching the students drama. They became friends and then began courting a couple of years later. And then they married at Bedford Register Office, which was the old grammar school, on the 4th of April 1996. After Kingsbrook merged with Silver Jubilee School, they then became Harrowden Middle School. It was a wonderful day when it was opened in 1996 by Her Majesty the Queen and Prince Philip. And both Philip and Zena were so proud when they were introduced to them. Here at Harrowden, they worked on many drama projects together. Philip would make the scenery and props, and Zena would encourage and teach the children drama. Many successful plays and lovely Christmas plays with scripts that they would add in, lovely little lines, and it was always with a great deal of fun. Philip was a lovely man, always with a great sense of fun and laughter. They bought a chalet in Norfolk, and many happy times were spent there, loving to be beside the coast. They then purchased a touring caravan and travelled all over the country, from Lowestoft to St David's in South West Wales. They also had a 30-foot cabin cruiser on the River Ouse, and they would take flights from Sywell Airport after Philip took flying lessons and gained his pilot's licence. So many adventures. Philip and Zena were always so incredibly busy. They ran an antiques collectibles business from home, and so would love to go to fairs and steam rallies at Old Warden. And they had an antiques collectibles stall at Hitchin Market, where they made many friends. And not forgetting their love of Wetherspoons. They accepted the challenge to visit as many Wetherspoon pubs as they could. They managed 401, with their 400th one in Bridlington, where Philip made a sign and they took photographs. You will see the photograph in your order of service today. During lockdown, Philip built a beautiful shepherd's hut in the garden with a television and a video recorder inside. They loved to sit out and enjoy the garden and watch the many birds that would come and visit. He missed his beloved Zena so very much, and the family are now comforted to know that they are once more reunited. I would now like to ask Christopher to come up to do his tribute.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's actually hard to believe that I was only stood here 17 months ago when we said our farewell to Zena. All right, it's gone so quick, it only seems like yesterday. Phil, or as some of you may know him as Gwyn, was my big brother, Vida's big brother, and Gary's big brother. He was the eldest of 4. Okay, as Caroline, in her lovely dedication, said, he was born in 1950 in Pontlottin in the Rhymney Valleys. He had big ambitions to do engineering. As has already been heard, he was employed at South Wales Switchgear in Pontlynfraith, and joined the RAF as a technician in 1970. He spent most of his 22-year career in Gütersloh and Wildenrath in Germany. And we actually heard as a family, myself, I probably, because Philip was away for my very youngest life, I probably only really got to know him from about the age of 7 or 8. But one thing I do remember, and I'm sure Vida the same, is that we had news in 1981 that he could possibly have a 6-month tour of the Falkland Islands. Now obviously this caused my mum, our mum, to be very upset. However, by's the by, and my mother was actually more concerned when Philip told us that he was actually going to be stationed in Bermuda. Didn't worry now about him being in the Falkland Islands. Mum was more concerned about Phil getting lost in the Bermuda Triangle rather than going to a war zone. My actual earliest memory of Phil, though, was when I was around 8 years old. He came to visit the family down in Newport in South Wales, and we all went to Barry Island. We will treasure the DVD, which I'd filmed obviously at that age of 8 years old. I had a cine camera as well, Super 8 silent, and I converted it 30 years later onto a DVD. On a later visit to Wales, I went back to stay with Phil when he lived in Bacton in Norfolk. I have fond memories playing the electric organ, piano, in his purpose-built music studio, which he had built in his garden. He was always building things. Phil even put me through my grade 1 music exam. So what turned out to be a holiday, I was studying for most of the time up there. But a highlight of that trip was when Phil and I played a duet on the piano at the Chroma Music Festival. Another fond memory was when Phil came down to visit back in 1989. I was an assistant manager then of a nightclub in Swansea. I was 19. We were sat having a drink, and as last orders approached, we happened to pick up a leaflet, and on this leaflet it said, ferry crossings from Fishguard to Rosslare in Ireland. We discussed this, and Phil said, you know what? I've been all around the world with the RAF, but I've never been to Southern Ireland. So I said, do you fancy going over for a pint? So we did. I drove up to Fishguard. I wasn't drinking. and we caught a 4 a.m. ferry over to from Fishguard to Rosslare. When we were on the ferry, we decided it would be a really good idea to go into the cinema, and I can remember it very vividly. We watched a film called Look Who's Talking with John Travolta, Kirstie Alley. We watched the film, but all we can remember about the film was it was really, really hot in this cinema. What, of course, P&O Ferries had done was put the cinema right next to the engine room. So it was noisy, it was boiling hot, and Phil, being an engineer, went into the ins and outs of really where the cinema should really be located. And if I remember rightly, not long afterwards, he wrote a letter to P&O just to express his views on a better place to put the cinema. I was so pleased the other day because when we went to the house, I saw a picture which I had taken of Philip at Rosslare Harbour, and it was by his bedside table, and he's had that all these years. In 1992, I moved to Manchester University from South Wales to start to train to be a teacher. Whilst I was there, I needed a part-time job. So whereas all my friends went on the bar and worked in clubs, I'd been there, done that, got the t-shirt, so to speak. I decided to join the Territorial Army. A year into university, I got a letter from Whitehall to say I was going to Bosnia, to Vitez, to serve a 6-month tour. That was to be my first of 2 tours of Bosnia, which I did. Now, at that point, I hadn't even told Vida, my sister, Gary, or even Mum that I'd even joined the Territorial Army. I think she thought, if I had told her, that it would just be a step up from the Scouts, which I was always in. So, the first person for me to actually tell, apart from Vida, was my brother Phil. I didn't know what to expect when I went out to a war zone. And I went around to visit family. The first one was Philip. When I was down in Shortstown with Philip and Zena, I happened to say to Phil, I've never been in an aeroplane. He said, oh, you can't have your first flight in an aeroplane, he said, to be a Hercules. I won't repeat what he used to call the Hercules, but it involved the word noisy in it. So he paid for 2 flying lessons for me, because after all, Philip passed his private pilot's license as well on leaving the RAF. So I can always say that my first time I went into an aeroplane, I flew it. And that was but thanks to my big brother, Phil. In 1996, at Phil and Zena's wedding, I was his best man. Some of you may have been there then. The morning of the wedding, Phil and I went down to the local pub to finalise our speeches. When I say finalise, we both wrote them. Could have fitted ours on a postage stamp. However, Phil had a knack of speaking from the heart. And after all, I was a year into my teaching, training to be a teacher. I'd gone into Bosnia twice. I come back, finished my degree, and I was ready to start my first teaching post. So surely I should be able to speak in front of a group. I remember starting my speech at the Lincoln Arms, firstly by pausing for silence and giving the look and that glare that teachers always do, especially to a group of guests who were over in the corner and they were still chatting. I found out later that there's this group of guests that were chatting, and I was glaring at them. Just so happened to be former headmasters and headmistresses of schools. Then I asked everyone to listen, as I would be asking questions at the end, and there may be a test. I reassured them then that this is not a shotgun wedding, which raised a few laughs around the room. Now, many of you will be aware that Phil and Zena's small business at Hitchin Market, he called his business, Isn't It? Now, a lot of people will not know, why did he call it Isn't It? Well, I always remember Mum saying, "That's a lovely coat, isn't it? Oh, you've got a lovely hairstyle, isn't it?" And Philip, always taking the mick, would say and tease her about it, and he'd start finishing her sentences with the word "isn't it?" Of course, you and I would say, "Isn't it?" So he set up his business at Hitchin Market, collectibles, selling everything. And then he set up a pat testing business, and he called that Isn't It? Finally, I've got to mention that great British dish, curry. I wasn't a fan at first, but Phil absolutely loved his curries. It had to be hot, though. No vindaloo, no. I used to think a vindaloo was the hottest curry. Oh, no, he said. It's got to be a fowl. And it's got to be a king prawn fowl. Because if you order a king prawn fowl, you know what you're getting. You can't disguise a king prawn. On my stays in Bedford, I soon got the taste for curries. Phil would often go out to the local takeaway, collect one, and say to the proprietor, "Make it extra hot. Dynamite," he used to say, dynamite. He'd bring it home, and then he'd add more spices to it. Now, Phil used to say to me, "So how was that?" Now, even though this curry was very, very hot, I couldn't be beaten. So I would always give him the same answer. "It's lovely, isn't it? But next time it needs to be hotter." His face was a picture. Zena, of course, always had her curries a lot milder, and told us that we were both off our heads, she said. And after all these years, curry is still my favourite food. Maybe not as hot nowadays. I think I've skimmed it down a bit to a jalfrezi. He always liked to keep himself busy. Phil loved building things, everything from garden railways to a wooden shepherd's hut during lockdown. When he was living in Norfolk, he built a ride-on locomotive all around his garden, and I used to love going on that when I was younger. After his days in the RAF, he was also an adult instructor at 134 Squadron of the Air Training Corps. He also taught piano and organ to hundreds of students privately. He spoke German fluently, and then over the last 12 months, he was refreshing his Welsh language. He would always come on the phone to me and start his telephone conversations with either Bore Da or Pnawn Da, and we'd talk about words that he could possibly use when he was speaking to his friends, especially when he talked to his friend Dickie. He loved jokes, and he used to have me in stitches on the phone telling me jokes. I'm unable to say any of those today, though, because they might not be suitable for some people present. I will always have fond memories of Phil, and as a family, we will, like you all here today, will miss him dearly. Now, Phil, it's time to rest. You are now finally with the love of your life, Zena. Rest in peace, brother. Your duty is done. And I salute you. Thank you very much. Can I also say thank you so much for the representation today from the Royal Air Force Music Services, and the British Legion. You have really made this a wonderful dedication to Philip. Thank you. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for that wonderful tribute. And now, Uncle Philip, by Annie.
Uncle Philip, I have memories that make me smile of a young child who longed to be by the side of an uncle so adored, the child that was me. You were the uncle full of fun who had such a wonderful way. Time spent with you was such a special gift. Each day was a magical day. I can recall all the things you did and the gentleness in your touch. You had a talent for letting me know that you loved me ever so much. And the impact you had upon my life continues to this day still. I loved you then, I loved you now, and yes, I always will. To my Uncle Philip and my Aunt Zena, I wish you could see me now. Amazing people, wonderful company, memories, a pleasure, no treasure. Rest in paradise. See you on the other side, and I will play you my best piano tune. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annie. Let us now take some time as we remember Philip with love. Let us now unite together in the comforting words of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. We have now come to the special part of the ceremony, to say goodbye to Philip, and where the family have requested that the curtains remain open. Could I ask you to please stand? We have now come to the special part of the ceremony, to say goodbye to Philip, and where he will once more be reunited with his beloved Zena. With love and respect, we have remembered Philip's life, and now the time has come to let him go. Philip, we rejoice that you lived. We treasure your friendship and your memories, and we will always be grateful that we walked part of our lives with you. We let you go with our love, with our thanks, and with our blessing. In times of darkness, love sees. In times of silence, love hears. In times of doubt, love gives hope. In times of sorrow, love heals, and at all times, love remembers. May time soften the pain, until all that remains is the warmth of the memories and the love. after we leave the chapel today, do please join the family as we are going to be releasing 2 white doves in honour of the very special bond of Philip and Zena.
That I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow skies are blue. That you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you